Hello everyone, my name is Zubarian Tleeb and today I'm going to present my study titled Breaking the Scroll, a randomized control trial assessing social media use and youth mental health in Pakistan. I prefer to present first and then we can have question and answers. Globally, 5.24 billion, there are 5.24 billion social media users comprised of 54% 0.6 males and 5.4 females, making almost two-thirds of the world's population and annual growth rate of 4.1%. Average time spent on social media is 2 hours and 21 minutes daily, and overall people spend over 14.5 billion hours per day on social media. As far as Pakistan, the case for Pakistan is concerned, 71.7 million social media users, 70% males and 30% females. Approximately 31% of the total population, and large share is likely coming from young age. That is basically 18 to 24 years. Social media offers immense opportunities, including it connects people, ideas, and opportunities, enhancing learning, collaboration, innovation, and nowadays it impacts almost all spheres of life. However, there are certain risks, as previous literature links excessive use of social media to higher incidence of depression and anxiety, sleep disruption, and cognitive functioning with downstream effect on productivity, particularly among youth. Gallup has conducted a study in 2023 where 62% of young participants shared that they experience anxiety from social media, and unrealistic lifestyle and cyberbully is the key reasons. So based upon the previously mentioned fact and figures and scenario, we have developed our research question: does limiting social media use to 2 hours a day leads to improvement in mental health outcomes? And to complement the research question, our objective is to examine the impact of excessive use of social media on the mental health outcomes of young adults in a developing economy, Pakistan, by using a randomized control trial. The RCT assigns participant either to a treatment group limiting social media use to 2 hours daily or a control group who follows the usual pattern of social media use. Our compliance is to adhere to the 2 hours daily limit on social media among participants in the treatment group, and compliance is tracked through our dual approach, that is basically smartphone monitoring apps, digital well-being, stay free, your hour, and self-reported usage diaries. Weekly SMS prompts and check-in calls reinforce adherence, address technical barriers, and sustain participants' motivation. Each participant received 2 SMS reminders, mostly through WhatsApp, but if WhatsApp is not working, then we send them messages through mobile SMS. Per week, 8 in total, because the intervention lasts for 4 weeks. Messages were delivered at 9 a.m. on Monday to encourage planning at the start of the week, and 7 p.m. on Fridays to address heightened weekend usage. SMS prompts were concise and motivational, designed to reinforce the 2 hours daily cap and promote self-regulation. So basically, this is the script we followed for the SMS, and one check-in call per week on Wednesday between 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and total 4 calls. Calls allowed the research team to troubleshoot technical issues with monitoring apps, discuss challenges with usage reduction, and sustain motivation. A typical call included 3 component: reflection, problem solving, and encouragement. Call list randomized order within strata, gender into baseline used to avoid systematic bias. And we noted so many important things, including reach status, attempts, call start and end, app status, diary submitted, days less than 2 hours in past week, and any other important thing. Also, our team helped the participant to fix any technical problem related to permissions, battery optimization for digital well-being, stay-free your hours, and we schedule technical callback if the call duration is greater than 5 minutes. We mostly used Urdu language and first names only, no sensitive content, secure storage of call logs. And as far as quality check is concerned, we review 5 to 10% calls, logs weekly, feedback, loop to enumerators. Key performance indicators include reach rate that is greater than 90%, median attempts less than is equal to 2. Mean duration is 3 to 4 minutes, and unresolved technical issue decrease over weeks. So basically, 5 points baseline usage is 5.76 hours per day in both groups. And after intervention, treatment group decreased the use to 2.10 hours per day, but control group stayed stable at 5.75 hours per day. 72% of treatment participants stayed less than is equal to 2 hours per day, and 65% complied for greater than is equal to 75% of study days. However, 28% exceeded the limit occasionally, normally on weekends or during holidays. And non-compliance not linked to baseline demographics or mental health. Existing literature demonstrates both positive aspects such as connection, collaboration, and knowledge, and negative outcomes such as depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem from addictive patterns of social media use. Much of the existing work relies on self-reported cross-sectional design, which limits causal inferences and robustness. However, recent advances include longitudinal and quasi-experiment studies that identify stronger causal effects but remain concentrated in high-income economies. So the study's value addition is it's a randomized controlled trial in a developing economy, producing policy-relevant causal evidence on how regulated social media use shapes youth mental health, a dimension which is largely ignored in existing literature. Let's talk about sample and randomization. Basically, we have recruited 400 participants through online advertisements, partnership with educational institutions, and outreach through youth organizations. Representation is across gender, socioeconomic and regional background, and eligibility criteria requires participants actively use social media on a daily basis, on a smartphone compatible with monitoring applications, and provide informed consent. Individuals with pre-existing severe mental health disorder requiring clinical intervention were excluded. Randomization was conducted at the individual level after completion of the baseline survey. Assignment used a computer-generated random number sequence with allocation concealment to improve covariate balance. Randomization was stratified by gender and baseline social media use. Within each stratum, we employed block randomization, and the block size is 4 to maintain one-to-one allocation to treatment and control group. This procedure preserved balance both overall and within key subgroups. So basically, this figure is describing the whole procedure. Our primary outcome includes depression, and which is assessed using a PHQ-9 scale widely validated for tracking both severity and change over time in depression. So basically, the range is 0 to 27, and high score indicate severity. Anxiety is measured with the GAD-7, a 7-item instrument where high score indicate clinically significant symptoms warranting further evaluation. And we have evaluated self-esteem by using Rosenberg self-esteem scale, a 10-item global measure of self-worth where scores below 15 reflect low self-esteem. And stress is captured through the perceived stress scale, a 10-item measure of perceived overload and unpredictability, offering robust validity across diverse population. Range is 0 to 14, and high score actually indicates severity. Secondary outcome includes sleep quality, and we have used PSQI, a widely used tool that measures sleep duration, quality, and disturbances over the past month, with higher score indicate poor sleep. And for measuring the overall well-being, we have used WHO 5 well-being index. Again, it's a 5-item self-reported scale that measure mood and life satisfaction, standardized to a 0 to 100 score, where higher value indicate better well-being. So these are the participant characteristics, and we see that mean age is 21, and number of males are slightly higher than number of females, and participants have 14 years of education. And most of the participants are urban and from Punjab. Uh, Time spent on social media is 5+ hours, and Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat are 3 most favorite applications among our participants. And we see from this slide that all of there is no difference between these scales between two groups. So first we will discuss the primary outcomes for depression, and we see at baseline there is no significant difference between groups. Post-intervention symptoms improved modestly in treatment versus control groups, and at 3 months follow-up, depression was significantly lower in treatment group. And our results are aligned with the previous literature, as previous literature indicates excessive social media use undermines mood and contributes to depression by fostering rumination on loneliness, triggering vicarious trauma through active passive scrolling to distress content, and intensifying fear of missing out, all of which impair psychological resilience. And at baseline, we can see that anxiety scores were similar across 2 arms. Post-intervention and after 3 months, we see a significant decrease in anxiety. And again, there are various reasons behind it. As such, excessive social media use has been shown to heighten anxiety by amplifying upward social comparison, fostering fear of missing out, disruptive sleep patterns, and displacing uh, um, uh, restorative activities, all of which contribute to poor effective regulation. Again, from the result, we could be able to find it out that self-esteem is also significantly improved among the participants who have limited their social media use. And the same is for stress level, and the results are in line with the previous literature that indicates that temporary withdrawal from social media platform improves subjective well-being, plausibly reflecting reductions in stress and related affective burdens. Secondary outcomes include sleep quality, and from the table we could be able to find it out. There is a significant improvement in sleep quality after limiting the social media use. And at the end, we talk about the well-being, overall well-being, and again, there is not much difference at the baseline, but post-intervention and at follow-up, the positive effect was sustained with a 10 point gain. Unlike most of the previous literature that rely on cross-sectional and correlational data. This trial applies a randomized control design in a developing economy context, filling an essential gap in global evidence, and findings suggest that low-cost behavioral intervention can yield large and lasting improvement in youth mental health. This directly informs policymakers in low and middle income countries where costly clinical interventions are less feasible. With South Asia home to nearly a billion social media users, the result have scalable implication for beyond Pakistan, challenging global narratives shaped primarily by Western data. The RCT provide first rigorous evidence in context of a developing economy that regulating social media use can improve depression, anxiety, stress, and well-being, setting a new benchmark in digital mental health research. We have validated mental health scales, participant diversity, strong internal and external validity, a simple scalable intervention with clear adherence protocols and active retention. Strategies are the strength of our study. However, reliance on self-reported measures, a relatively short 3 months follow-up, and risk of non-compliance may affect accuracy and the ability to assess long-term effects. Based upon our results, we have proposed few policies. First, integrate. It is imperative at this age of social media to integrate digital well-being into youth health programs and policies, free counseling at the school, colleges, and university level to close the digital well-being gap among youth and low-income groups. It is important to initiate national level initiatives to limit excessive screen time among adults. We can take the example from Japan. As I was reading in Guardian that government has encouraged adults to use social media for 2 hours daily in Japan. It is actually important to focus on research and development, longitudinal studies to track the mental health impact of social media and evaluate the effectiveness of various interventions. Again, it is very important to provide community-based alternatives like cultural, sports, volunteer program to reduce reliance on digital interaction. Thank you, and a special thanks to our research team who helped me a lot to actually shape this study from design to implementation and helped me a lot to get and clean the data. Thank you. Any question? Comments?
Hello. Okay, so my question to you is, first of all, wonderful presentation. I want to ask that in today's age, in today's digital age, when everything has emerged to social media and most of the businesses are working on social media, TikTokers, influencers, a lot of people are using social media and that has become their source of earning. How do you suggest in today's age if we adults who see their future in social media stops using it and just confine it to 2 hours a day, do you think that we will be able to match our energy with the rest of the world, with the people and the influencers around?
Maybe I can take another question and then I can.
Very interesting work. It seems like you have really massive initial effects in reducing consumption of social media. Could you talk a little bit more about how you were able to get participants to reduce their social media usage so much? Was it an app specifically that prevented them from using it anymore? Or was it just through these calls and reminders? So talking a little bit about how and whether this is similar to other interventions that have tried to reduce it, because that's just that initial component seemed really effective.
Self-motivation is one of the very important factor maybe here. We did not address there, but we perfectly understand that self-motivation could be very important, and there are so many other factors as well that are equally important in this social media use, 2 hours limits a day. You are absolutely right, and I totally agreed with you. There are so many students even, and there are so many young adults, those who are actually earning very good from social media. That could be kind of different thing, but if you are not earning from social media, but still you are using social media for long hours, so maybe it can affect your mental health. So I think we should include that as well, maybe in our future studies. One more thing, I did not actually talk about content here. Of course, in future, or maybe we can actually talk about content, what kind of content they are into it.
Can I have a quick follow-up over here? So were they given any sort of incentive to participate or to comply, some monetary compensation or something like this? And the second question would be that, do you have any idea about whether they're using the same social media on different devices, perhaps? Or if they are reducing their usage by upward of 3 hours, what they're doing with the 3 hours?
We did not actually give any financial incentive in this experiment, but we are working on another experiment with the same organization that is basically digital financial literacy for rural women. So for that, we have actually give them the incentive, but in this particular study, we did not give the incentive. And if you please explain again, tell me the second question. Yes, absolutely true. But we actually taken it from single device only. Yes, you are absolutely right. It could be the situation, but we actually got the data from one device.
Is there any follow-up on if they're really reducing their time of social media, what they're using that time for?
We are actually thinking for a follow-up because, as you see, when the time frame is increased, so definitely the effects uh, get weaker. We are just thinking to get another follow-up.
Thank you. Really interesting presentation and very interesting results. I was just wondering that you have pretty large effects on anxiety, depression, actually all of your measures. I was just wondering if you have information right now on which types of people tend to get more affected. So heterogeneous effects by, for example, gender, age. Like, can we identify who are the subpopulations who are getting more affected by social media use? And the reason why I'm interested in this is that if social media use is something that we just cannot manage or monitor in the long term, if people are going to be using this and getting affected really deeply, then can we design targeted interventions to those subpopulations? So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Thank you.
I'm very much interested to actually look for the heterogeneous effect, but since we could not be able to do it here, but we are actually looking for the follow-up, and we will actually incorporate the heterogeneous our subgroups. We will see the same intervention on subgroups as well. Definitely, this was our first experiment, and we don't have enough funding for this, so definitely we did not actually went too long, but definitely we will actually focus on that in future.
Sorry, maybe I'm just curious, what happened in Nepal, we all saw in last couple of days. So I think any recommendation will be taken very seriously about 2 hours of limiting this thing. On the other side, did you had any disaggregated data about usage of social media by the geography, by people living in urban areas versus rural areas?
No, we did not do it for the timing, but definitely we have the data, we can actually check it. But we did not go for the subgroups in this study, but we are looking forward for the same. Because definitely subgroup implications are very important, and at the same time, heterogeneity is important, and definitely age group is also important. Urban versus rural is important. Even we can do it for the 4 provinces.
I'm sorry if I missed it, but what was exactly the intervention that brought these results? So you mentioned self-motivation, but what were the nudges, the behavioral nudges behind these results?
The intervention is to limit social media use for 2 hours daily, and for that we actually send the participants messages and check-in calls. We kind of motivate them. We can actually check in with them. We kind of tell them that this is not a kind of good thing if you will use social media for long hours every day. WhatsApp, if WhatsApp is not working, so definitely through mobile phone, but mostly on WhatsApp.
When you are collecting the data from the different app users, so have you found any outliers in the data? Because there are some social media apps like Instagram and the LinkedIn which highly perpetuate anxiety level, both at the personal level and LinkedIn on the professional level.
Not exactly in our experiment.
Thank you very quickly because I know we are over time. I am actually very convinced by the sleep mechanism. But then you have a measure of the sleep quality, and I'm just wondering whether if you are gonna do a follow up or if you already have the data on the number of hours that they are sleeping. Because one thing that they may be doing during that time that they are not in social media is sleeping, which can also lead to better sleep, etc. And that can actually drive the better results of mental health. So if you have the data and have results, let us know. And if not, that could be something that you can add to the follow up. Thank you. And
Thank
great
you.
paper.
We will definitely do the same. Thank you.
How should we view this particular intervention compared to other options that people have to limit their social media use? Like your phone can tell you how much screen time you've used. There are options where you can set your settings such that you get locked out of using certain apps if you've used them for more hours in a day. So I'm just wondering, how is this different, or how do we expect the impact of this to be different from options that people have by default in their devices?
We have collected the data through the same apps. We asked them to install the app. I mean, we have used the same. I mean, whatever you are talking about, we actually got the data from those apps. I mean, from there they will be able to tell us that they have used this much of this many hours social media.
I was wondering if you actually constructed binary indicators for moderate and severe depression, because that's usually how the PHQ-9 is used. And I saw that it was around 10, just above 10, that the baseline score was for the average sample, which means that the average person is moderately depressed. And that's the margin you were shifting. So I think it would be, if you haven't done that already, it would be worthwhile constructing binary indicators for those thresholds, and that would be easier to interpret rather than just saying continuous changes in mental health. Be able to say just what proportion of the sample was actually no longer moderately depressed as a result of the intervention, and that might help you then also then unpack who are these people, because some of the, there were questions about, which provinces, which areas, where did this intervention really work, and that might make that analysis easier.
Thank you. We did not use the binary outcomes for the timing. We actually we were more interested to check it for the three scales, like for three states: moderately, weakly, severely. But yes, we can actually do the same in future at the time of follow up.
Hi. I, I think I noticed that you hadn't included YouTube in your, the social media apps. So a lot of TikTok addicts would then switch to YouTube. So were you, any particular reason for not including that? The real addicts would just switch to YouTube, considering that YouTube has changed their format and copied TikTok. So any particular reason for not?
We actually, during the baseline survey, we actually, rank the number of apps which our most used apps. YouTube got not very much a higher proportion, so that is why. Mostly people, young adults are using Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. Even you see Facebook and Twitter is not like very common among adults. Maybe this is more likely. This is actually particularly in this sample. Maybe if we can increase the sample, we could be able to get into more apps, and we can actually include YouTube as well. Thank you.
So next up, we have Debasish Kumar Das, who's incorrectly listed on the program as a different university at UNSW and presenting on heat, prepaid metering, and household electricity consumption. Again, 20 minutes to present and 10 for discussion.
Thank you.
Do you want to take questions during or keep them to the end?
Yeah. Welcome everyone in my session. I know this is the very last one before lunch, so hopefully it will be interesting. So the topic I will discuss today, which is a heat prepaid metering and household electricity consumption in Bangladesh. So this is a joint work with Zhenxuan Wang from the North Carolina State University. Well, so what motivates this research? So as prepaid metering is used as a technical solution for non-payment and better revenue, electricity revenue outcomes, it's got a very key attention in particularly developing countries and also developed countries. And in South Asia, Bangladesh is one of the forefront in that perspective because it's implementing nationwide prepaid metering, mostly in the urban households. So in literature, actually, it's well documented that the positive side of the prepaid metering, it's improved, like in the utility side, it's improved the revenue outcome from the household sides. People now can better manage their budgets. But what what actually less documented is that why people are reducing their consumption. Are they reducing their essential consumptions or non-essential consumptions? And also from the perspective of the energy poverty and insecurity, it's less understood in the literature. So, and that's basically we trying to understand from our research. So, and you know, it's grows even severe importance when we integrated the climate change, when people use the prepaid metering. And you know, the access to electricity is definitely not comfort during the high or extreme climate situation, but it is a question of survival. Because in the extreme temperature, if people cannot afford like the fan or AC, that could be detrimental in many other aspects from the health risks and the mortality. So, and why prepaid metering actually put the unintentional burden in that case? Because we know that it's the upfront payment systems. So, and it's like when, you know, temperature increase and people have less under budget pressure, you know, that's even creates more burden on the households. And also the prepaid metering system, it's automatic disconnections when the balance gets zero. So until people recharge, household recharge the amount, they will not get the electricity back. And you can imagine in the during the heat waves, if there is no electricity, how detrimental it would be. And also, one of the good part of the prepaid electricity metering is that the price salience. So now households can see like how much they consume in every day or in the real-time scenarios. So maybe a household can also show the over conserved behavior in their in terms of their electricity use. So the questions definitely arise like the does prepaid metering constraints households adaptation to heat? So to answer that one, we framed our research in three questions. So first, we explore how does prepaid metering affect household consumptions, electricity consumptions, and then would households adjust their consumption differently under the various temperature conditions, and what could be the potential mechanisms. So as I mentioned, that our research context is Bangladesh, because in Bangladesh, it's still around 20% people are living in poverty line. And in terms of energy poverty, I think this rate is a bit higher. And Bangladesh is one of the top most climatic vulnerable countries in the world. And in terms of hot and humid climate, this country is like almost 6 months. The average temperature, average daily temperature is above 27 degree Celsius, which is 80 degree Fahrenheit. Here, anti-stress is one thing is that the 27 degrees sometimes may not be looks like the very extreme temperature, but if you add the humid climatic conditions, 27 degrees always feel like over 30 degrees. So, and there are some few months which is really extremely extreme temperatures. And also in Bangladesh, mostly the urban households use fans as a common cooling steps, and the wealthy households use the AC. So, but in terms of percentage, it's not that high. And another context is that it's a large scale rollout in the developing countries context. I think it's a national level rollout, mostly among the urban households. So in terms of and to give a little background of the Bangladeshi electricity market, I believe it's not like different than the Pakistan electricity market, but it's like, it's a regional monopoly. It's under the central government regulations. So energy regulatory commissions, they set the retail price, and residential customers, face increasing block price like this one. So like the very low tariff rate for the people who use the less number of electricity, and it's increased when they use more. And actually the government and the electricity utilities companies' target was to reduce non-payment and improve their revenue. So that was the purpose for implementing the prepaid metering. And the rollout starts in 2015, and it's accelerated in 2017. And now almost like over 50% household is under the prepaid metering systems in the country. So let's give a quick, I know all of you understand like what is the difference between postpaid and prepaid system, but in electricity context, postpaid is a credit-based system. So like people use electricity fast, and then they pay the bill at the end of the billing cycles. Usually households get 2 weeks to pay their bills. And in the prepaid system, it's a debit-based system. It's like a prepaid mobile systems. You buy your credit, recharge into the meter, and then start using your electricity. When the balance hits 0, your electricity immediately cut off until you are recharging again. So, and also the good thing is that you can see the keypad in here. So there are a lot of options. Like if you press like #1, then you can see that how much you consume today. If you press like #2, then you can see that what was the cost. Like this sort of information from the household sites you can see. So, but one caveat in the Bangladeshi prepaid one, this is not a smart electricity meter. So basically, the electricity company cannot monitor the real-time data like every seconds or every minutes one. So they only get the information when they recharge the meter. But recently, government actually implementing the smart meter for the other type of postpaid customers, but we didn't consider like those in our samples. So as I mentioned, so far till 2020, over 4 million prepaid meter already been installed in urban households. So and the rollout process is quite exogenous in terms of like it's a centrally decision by the utility. It's not like based on the household characteristics, and they implement based on their technical capabilities and also the workforce capacity and administrative difficulty. So they choose the regions where they have more technical capabilities. They start first in there, and when they start in on regions, they complete in that region first and then move to other regions. And as I mentioned, it's a mandatory implementation. So household cannot opt out from their from the systems. So when the utilities come and say like this region they are going to implement in the next month, households have to take that one. So in terms of data, we got a very unique administrative, like household level monthly electricity billing informations. I'm telling unique because we are the first person to get that access in this data. So it's a huge data set. So we literally have the whole households data. So we consider like the 6 key districts in Bangladesh: Dhaka, Chittagong, Khulna, Satkira, Bagrat, and Pirouzpur. So which is cover almost like 50% urban population in Bangladesh. So um, and we randomly select like our around 150,000 households. And as I mentioned that we have the monthly data from 2014 to 2029. And the data we have, it has like the electricity uses, their meter type, and then the distribution locations. We also integrate the other 2 data, like the weather data, the high resolution weather data from year 5. Our primary focus on the daily temperature, average temperature. We also control the other temperature variables like the precipitations, wind speed, and direction, and relative humidity. And also we integrated the socioeconomic and demographic information through the Bangladesh census and household income expenditure survey. So Bangladesh doesn't have any other like the linked administrative data with the electricity data. So that's why we use the census data in the locational level to see the effect. So in the first snapshot in the graphical representation across the 6 districts, we can clearly see that when households switch from postpaid to the prepaid meter, their electricity consumption reduce. So the gray line is the postpaid electricity consumptions, and the blue line is the prepaid electricity consumption. And this is the percent of customers are into the prepaid metering systems. So, and the another things I also point, like if you see this graph closely, like in hot days, like the hot months, the gap is wider compared to the cold months. And in empirical setup, so our outcome variables is the average daily electricity consumptions in a month, which is kilowatt per hour, and our the first variable is the number of days in a month. The mean daily temperature falls into the east temperature bin. So our base reference is less than 75, and this is between like the 75 to 80 Fahrenheit, and then 80 to 85 and over 85, which is the extreme hot. We also control the precipitation, wind speed, direction, and relative humidity, along with bunch of fixed effects. So the results is not surprising, as like the previous paper found, like that we see that when household moves from postpaid to the prepaid systems, their electricity consumption reduce almost 14% daily, which is roughly 0.8 kilowatt, roughly equivalent to running like a few hours fans. When we interact with the climate variables like the climate bins, and as you know that as temperature increase, the usage of electricity is also increase. So when we interact with the prepaid metering systems, we see that the people who the household who switch to the prepaid metering systems during the like the different temperature bins, their consumption is reduced. And more interestingly, like in the extreme weather events, this gap is wider than in the moderate temperature bins. We also leverage the census data and see like what is the poor households behavior. Like how they're behaving. The people who live in the high poverty areas, we say like, their consumption decreased even in the moderate temperature. So that means, like in terms of like the energy poverty level, like they cannot even cope up with even during the moderate temperature, which is 27 degrees Celsius. And for low poverty regions, this gap is much wider even in the extreme. So the low poverty regions, like people are rationing their electricity uses in extreme situations, but whereas the high poverty regions, they are rationing even from the beginning, like that. And the next, we try to see the mechanisms, like whether people are bunching in the different tariff blocks. So we found quite strongly significant results. We can see in during the hot days, like the households tend to stay in the lower like that tariff tier compared to the highest one, and which is between like 200 to 400. And also we check the heterogeneity based on the peak seasons consumptions, and we see that the gap is wider in the middle block, like the moderate block of this. So, well, in the key takeaways from our research is that we just try to we estimate, we explore from the welfare perspective of the effect of prepaid metering in the households, because in the literature is all the time it's talking about it. Prepaid metering is good. It's increasing the better revenue collections. But what government is not considering, like particularly in Bangladesh context, where prepaid metering implementing in nationwide, but without considering the low and middle income households issues. So we believe that this research will contribute, at least for policymakers, to implement these sort of measures and consider like that how the lower and middle income household can cope up with during the extreme weather events. Yeah, thank you, and I'm happy to take questions. Yeah. Hi.
Hi. I have a question. You show that after prepaid metering, the energy consumption is down. My concern is that consumption down because people are now being cautious of using electricity, or most probably they use their electricity and wait for the money to arrive to again top up the meter and then start using it? Because if it's this case, then the health risk you mentioned might be aggravated under this context. So is there any way to know that it is a cautious approach to electricity usage, or is it not ability to buy electricity at the given time that causes this drop? Thanks.
Great paper. I have a comment that do you have data on the availability of solar in the household? On the availability of solar in the household, because it could be the case that the prepaid have more access to the solar energy than the postpaid, because they are relatively more educated, they have more information, and they have high level of income.
Hi, thanks. Great presentation. So just wondering if I want to think about the welfare implications of this policy. So it could be that the people who are using less electricity because they have prepaid meters now, they are credit constrained, right? So say they might have done something useful from using that electricity, which they're not able to do so now because they just don't have money right now. But postpaid allows them to take those measures, right? So maybe run some home-based business or do something like that. So should I really interpret that this prepaid metering is actually bad, is actually a good thing? Because the postpaid could be thought of as relaxing the credit constraint and allowing people to take on other investments.
I think, yeah, let me complete this one before forgetting like all these questions. No, thank you. So all of the great questions. Yeah, first of all, like the solar one, as I mentioned that we have the limitation of the data is that we got the electricity, monthly electricity uses data from the electricity companies. For the solar one, we don't have any administrative data which we can link in the household level. So that is the one problem of this one. Maybe we can do some further analysis, like based on the like the block level, like solar adoption rate, and then see. But yeah, so that limitation we have. And also the another data questions, like again, that is the data limitation part. So we cannot dig into like more details because we don't have that freedom. Because data has some limitations. The credit constraint, uh, like our result actually, like in Bangladesh context, like the energy poverty is more than the even um, the the national like the poverty level. So definitely we cannot ignore that one, that the credit constraint, and we see that the people like the low income people reducing their consumption even in the very fastest step of the high temperatures. So which is clearly shows that they are facing the credit constraint, or maybe because there is no other options to, because they are using the less amount of electricity, and if they further reduce, that means there is some constraint. So the problem is that in government, when they roll out, they considering like 100% from the benefit of the utility side, not considering the welfare or the equity perspective from the lower middle income peoples.
Yeah. I was wondering from average temperatures to see, to unpack that part of it is that they probably haven't planned well enough for the heat wave and they don't have enough credit. Or is it that, oh, sorry, or is it that they suddenly they get a shock and they don't have the resources available to actually use electricity? So you could use that to unpack it. Is it just normal heat wave and they're using less than the others? And when there is a shock, is the difference even larger? That will tell you something about the extent of credit constraint and the role that planning is playing, because every year they know that heat wave is going to come and they could potentially save up for that. But we know that that's hard for people to do. But this deviation could be a potential way of unpacking the two channels.
No, thanks. That's very good advice.
Wonderful presentation. So what I understand that prepaid household flatten their electricity temperature response, especially the poorer ones. Could this be driven not only by constrained finances, uh, but also behavioral adaptation, maybe like they are shifting to fans, shaded spaces, or informal cooling methods? What are your comments?
Like you're talking about the ambient temperature and like the housing quality, like these setups.
Response, the poorer ones. So maybe they are actually, this is not just because of finances, maybe they are actually, this is a kind of behavioral adaptation. They are actually using more fans or something.
No, I think as I mentioned, like in the poor households, their average consumption is even below like the 75 kilowatt. 75 kilowatt is not much, but it's a very little amount. So if they reduce even further, like which is clearly shows that something is happening. So it's listen. So there is very less behavioral mechanism in that front, like in the low income perspective.
I think major problem in Pakistan is not the pre or post payment for the say consumption. I think the problem is free electricity given to bureaucracy and no one can get the payment from the power lords in Pakistan. And all these units used by these people are being paid from the poor. So can you suggest some treatment for this?
Not publicly, I think. I don't want to get trouble on that one. So, yeah, so actually, so that's why from this research we wanted to highlight that the government should consider like this low income peoples, or they need to set up some mechanism like in what way they can give the benefit to them. But what way they are collecting money, we didn't investigate that one. I think that one is the other people's job, I guess.
So I don't think we should forget about the utility companies in this analysis. So could you give us a sense of a back of the envelope calculation on what are the revenue impacts here of moving to a prepaid system, and so what's the potential for that? I know that whether governments do this or don't is a separate issue, but the potential to reinvest some of that in the energy grid to begin with, and potentially lower prices across the board.
So what we know, like from the electricity company, the utilities report, that their revenue increased. So now, like the few companies, they are in the better revenue position. So in terms of the revenue collections, like they are in the good. But in terms of the grid implications, like we didn't we didn't explore like in that angles.
Would you have a sense of the percentage increase in revenues as a result of moving to prepaid? We saw there was a 14% reduction in electricity usage. What are the impacts on revenues?
The revenue, the utility revenue increases, like the companies like who like implement this prepaid metering. So that's why now government is take action that they will implement in nationwide. So that is the reason. So they got a sense like that there is now less non-payment and also less technical problem, like the technical loss is reduced. So I talked with like one utilities companies managers, like he told that usually the technical loss was around 10 to 11% before, but now they reduced to 6%. So which is really good. So it's improved the grid stability and grid connection, and also like I know, like from the household perspective, maybe it is not great news, but they told that now they can shift like the more electricity from household side to the farm side, because now they see that the household are saving in some like the areas where the prepaid metering is implemented. So the extra energy they now can shift to the farm levels. So, but in terms of reducing the price, I think there is no implication on the price. So we saw that the government increased the price. So, yeah.
We still have one more minute, and there are a couple more people waiting for questions for a while.
Just something, is there a difference in price charged to prepaid and postpaid customers? And two, is there, I mean, did you study the effect of minimum recharge? Because I believe different distribution companies would have a different minimum recharge amount, like, maybe 50 takas or 300 takas. Is there any difference on, does that make any impact on the
No.
recharge and
No,
the usage?
No, thanks. No, in Bangladesh, like we don't have that difference. Like the price is same for both postpaid and prepaid systems, and it's a centrally regulated system. So the utilities, they should follow the same structure, like the same billing behavior. So no, it's not different.
And the minimum amount of recharge, as in?
No, there is no minimum amount of research in. So like as long as your balance is positive, you can use the electricity. So when it hits 0, then there is no electricity. So if you're happy to recharge like every minutes, it is fine, like in the system. But the problem is, the code generates like very long, like 22 numbers. So people are fed up with pressing these numbers, because sometimes they do mistakes and re-enter again. So that sort of. But the recently they brings a new technical solution for that one. So now people can pay through the apps or mobile banking, so which is convenient. But during our sample times, that facility was not there. So
Apparently, it shows that
So maybe we can take the rest of the discussion to the lunch, because we were any guidance on where which is upstairs from here, or you want to explain somebody to explain where
oh, thank you. Maybe I can talk with you after. Thank you all.